So we saw this before when Lou Lamoriello went to the Islanders, fired Garth Snow, and then people asked who's going to be the next GM, and then he said, "Surprise, it's me."
Yes.
What would you do if, I guess, like Patrick, I'd like to hear your opinion first, but if Jeff Gorton also said, "I will also be the GM of the Montreal Canadiens"?
I think I'm okay with it. I don't know how certain members of the media would react to it, but I think he serves as a better president, and I guess that's what he's going to be. But it's weird. This whole figure that they're going to have to speak to the media, I'm still sort of unclear. And it almost seemed like in their press conference, they kept changing to, well, I'm still the GM. Well, actually, it's both of our decisions, or well, it's my decision. And this, they kind of changed back and forth. I'd be okay with Jeff Gorton as general manager. I would probably prefer him as president and get someone maybe a little bit younger. I'm a big fan of Martin Madden Jr. To be general manager, or at least head of the scouting department. I'd be okay with that, honestly. I look at the moves. You can go to his trade tracker on Cap Friendly. He's made great moves with the Rangers, great moves with the Bruins, and I'm okay with that. But I'm trying to reserve judgment until I see who they hire. I've seen a lot of names thrown out there, and of course, the media asks 10 questions about Patrick Waugh, but I think I'd be okay with him as GM. I really am.
Adam?
So I have some candidates that I mentioned last episode, but now that we got you and Daniel here. Now, some of these are obviously a bit... I have Waugh under coaching and GM just for the hell of it, but I think that press conference made it very clear that Patrick Waugh's not going to get hired. I think it was... I think Gordon handled it really well. By the way, like, side note, I thought he handled that whole conference really, really... And listen, my French isn't perfect. I can get around well enough. But, like, listening to it, like, you appreciate the effort, but it was like, oh, man, I can tell this is a guy from Boston trying his best here. But you speak about him getting questions a lot. Man, he said he was going to learn French. Just leave him alone. Anyway, so some GM candidates. You talked about Martin Madden Jr. I think a lot of people, that's the sort of number one hire. Mathieu Darche is another one people have been talking about. How would you feel about that?
I don't know enough about Mathieu Darche. I've seen this. I know he's been working with Julien Brisebois in Tampa. From what I've heard, he's somewhat forward thinking. I don't know enough about him and his work. I know there was an interview. I think you might have tweeted it, where you watched an interview of his, and if it wasn't you, that's really weird. But someone tweeted it. I guess there was an interview that came out, and they thought that he had pretty valuable insight, and he seemed like a pretty forward thinking guy. I don't know enough about Mathieu Darche. Honestly, most of my research and investment has been towards Martin Madden. But I don't know enough about Darche. But I'm assuming if you're working with Julien Brisebois, who is, in my opinion, a top 3, maybe even top 2 GM in the league, then I'm assuming you know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Next, I'm going to put these two together because they are sort of not super experienced. That's Danny Briere, who has been really, really talked about, and maybe to a lesser extent, Roberto Luongo. See if he leaves Florida for go back to Montreal Winners.
Yeah, Luongo is always the one I hear, along with Marty Brodeur as well. And I don't know what they do aside from, I don't know what their roles are. I don't know what Luongo's doing in Florida. Is he AGM? Is he
goaltending? I think
I like the idea, but maybe I think you said it a couple weeks ago. I was on your Instagram, and you said maybe he'll go back to Vancouver when they figure that stuff out.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that'd be better. I don't honestly, like, these guys, as far as I'm concerned, don't have a resume that's as impactful and meaningful to take over GM, even if it is just as the figure. Because I still think if it's Gorton making these moves, Gorton essentially is the general manager. He's just going to have someone talk to the media.
Mm-hmm.
If it's just a figure to talk to the media, fine. But assuming it is someone like, I keep going back to Martin Madden Jr., I'm sorry. Assuming it's someone like him, you also have a figure who can speak French, but also handles scouting extremely well. So Luongo is someone I'm not really too familiar with. Danny Briere, I wouldn't mind. But again, I don't know a lot about what these guys do aside from, just used to be playing in the NHL. Briere's a very intelligent guy. I know that. Like, you can watch interviews with him. He was a very good hockey player, and he seems to be, I would imagine that he's a forward-thinking guy. He doesn't seem like someone who would overvalue grit and being big and all that stuff. He's a pretty elusive hockey player, and I would hope that he would value skill and stuff like that. And just interviews with him, he's very down to earth and he seems intelligent, but that's all I can really give on Danny Briere because I don't know. These guys don't have resumes, right? They don't have transaction history. They don't have signing history. They don't have player opinion history. But I don't hate the Danny Briere move. Maybe if it was a GM of Laval or something like that, start him up. But I think of all the guys you've listed, a lot of them seem like generic hockey men. A lot of the, not that you listed, a lot of the rumored guys seem like pretty generic hockey men, except for Danny Briere, who seems pretty forward thinking. So I wouldn't hate that. But again, I don't know what these guys do. So
I got to be quick before the Rottweiler goes again. Patrick Waugh, go ahead, go ahead. Tell us about Patrick Waugh.
For the chaos, it would be hilarious. But again, he's someone who can't work with anyone else who disagrees with him. I love his passion. I love what he did for the team when he was playing. He's entertaining. Is he ever entertaining, Patrick Waugh? But there is nothing in his resume that suggests he should manage or coach. Maybe if he coached the team for a week and got them, fired up and got in a fight, that would be cool. But there's nothing about him that I think, and what was his quote? His quote was, "Why not me?"
What do they have to lose?
What do they have to lose?
Thinking?
A lot. They have a lot to lose.
I feel like if you, oh man,
I don't know how he said that and thought that was okay. If that's your first thing is, well, what does this storied franchise have to lose by giving me a shot? You're basically putting yourself down at that point. But it would be funny. But no, it can't happen.
Coaching. Also Patrick Waugh.
Yeah, same thing. No, he's an intense coach, and he has a shelf life. Obviously, I think for about a month he would probably get the guys going, but after a while they're going to think, all right, enough, relax.
And then he quit on them, like he.
Yeah, exactly.
Go ahead, Alex.
No, it was just two other guys I had saw. One of them I saw trending on Twitter. I think the other guy, Friedman, brought up on 32 Thoughts headlines last night. One was Kent Hughes, and then the other is Pat Brisson. I don't know why Pat Brisson was trending on Twitter, but when I clicked on his name, it was just all people from Montreal saying he should be the general manager of the Montreal Canadiens. I assume I know your answer based off of the inexperience, but like, what would you, because they do have experience dealing with contracts, right? Like that's kind of their job, but there's a lot of inexperience there as well.
Yeah, so they're both. I know Brisson's an agent, and Kent Hughes is an agent as well, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So again, I was looking at my roommate. He knows one of his buddy works for Kent Hughes, and there's like an agency where all those French guys practice, like Bergeron, Sami Blais, whatever other French players are under those agents. A lot of good hockey players, a lot of talented French talent as well. And if that would sort of coincide with some effort to bring more French Canadian talent back to Montreal, I can see it. But those contracts are good as well. Those players are under good contracts. But again, if you want someone who's simply French to be a figure for the media, to speak to the media, then it shouldn't really matter if it's Briere or Luongo or Kent Hughes or Pat Brisson. But if it's someone who's still going to have a say in the moves, then I would probably look for someone more experienced than those two. But it seems fine. I don't know. Like I thought when they said they were looking for a general manager, I thought the names would be, I thought it would be Darche, Madden, Luongo, Brodeur. And now I'm seeing names of people like Briere, like Hughes and Brisson that I never really thought would have come up. But I think they're going to take some time. And I think he said they probably won't even have someone hired before Christmas. So they're obviously going to take their time, but it's interesting to see a lot of names I've never really heard of pop up. And again, it depends. And I keep coming back to this because I keep seeing people change their view and change what Montreal is going to do. If it's just a figure who speaks French, it shouldn't matter. But if it's someone who's going to have a say in the moves, then it needs to matter. And that's why you would have to go with an experienced guy like Martin Madden Jr., who you could tell I'm a fan of.